Baalbek, Lebanon. A plateau in the anti-Lebanon mountains, 3,800 feet above sea level. In the 1st century AD, the Romans came here and decided to build a temple, a massive temple, to honor Jupiter, one of the greatest temples ever constructed. But when they arrived, something was already here. A platform. A foundation, built from stones so enormous that modern engineers cannot explain how they were moved. Not built by the Romans, found by the Romans. In the quarry adjacent to the temple site, archaeologists discovered 3 partially extracted megaliths, unfinished stones left in place. The stone of the pregnant woman, 1,000 tons. The stone of the south, 1,200 tons. A third stone, 1,050 tons. To put this in perspective, the largest stone in the Great Pyramid weighs 80 tons. But these are single stones, solid rock precisely shaped. The temple platform, built before the Romans arrived, is constructed from these megalithic blocks. 3 stones form the bedrock. They're placed so precisely that you cannot fit a knife blade between them. Each stone is 65 feet long, 16 feet high, 13 feet wide. Perfectly cut, perfectly aligned. Zero margin for error. How were they moved? Why were they moved? You don't move 1,000-ton stones for decoration. That's necessity. What technology was used, and most disturbing, what happened to that knowledge? Archaeologists say the stones were moved using wooden ramps, wooden rollers, and human labor. Thousands of workers, ropes, levers. Inclines. Theoretically possible, never demonstrated. So we tell the theory and move on. Ancient texts speak of giants, the Nephilim, beings of immense size and strength. What if they were real? What if Baalbek is evidence, not of human ingenuity, but of a different species, a different civilization, one that's gone now, leaving only stones and questions? Standing at Baalbek, staring at a 1,000-ton block of stone with perfect right angles carved into its surface, one fact becomes unavoidable. Whoever built this knew something we've forgotten. The question isn't how they did it. The question is, what were they trying to tell us? On paper, the stones at Baalbek are just blocks of limestone, until you look at the numbers. The Trilithon blocks. 3 massive stones locked into the western wall of the Jupiter temple platform. Each weighs approximately 750–850 tons. Dimensions per block. Length, 19 meters. Height, 4.2 meters. Depth, 3.6 meters. That's the size of a railway car. Solid limestone, immobile, eternal, stacked 3 deep. No mortar, no adhesive. Just stone on stone, so precisely fitted that a knife blade cannot pass between them. Beneath the Trilithon sits a second layer of stones. Each block weighs approximately 350 tons. Here, they're considered supporting pieces. Adjacent to the temple, archaeologists found the quarry where these stones were extracted. 2 stones remain unfinished, still partially embedded in the bedrock, abandoned mid-extraction. Stone of the south, weighed 200 tons. Stone of the pregnant woman, 1,000 tons. Why were they left? In 2014, a more recent survey discovered something even more disturbing. Another megalith in the quarry, larger than the others, the Forgotten Stone. Weight, 1,050 tons. This is not a stone. This is a mountain carved into a rectangular shape. And it was never moved. It sits in the quarry still, abandoned, unfinished. A testament to a project that stopped. Let's put these numbers in perspective. The largest stone in the Great Pyramid, 80 tons. The stones of Baalbek are 10 to 20 times heavier. What makes this more impossible is the precision. The Trilithon blocks don't just sit together. They're fitted with such accuracy that no mortar is needed. No settling has occurred in 2,000 years, and they've survived earthquakes intact. This requires exact measurements, perfect extraction, flawless transportation, and precise positioning. Modern engineers say this should be impossible with ancient technology. Yet the stones are here. The official explanation? Wooden ramps, wooden rollers, rope, and human muscle power. But when engineers actually attempted this with a 100-ton stone, the project failed. The wooden rollers splintered, the ramps collapsed. A 100-ton stone couldn't be moved with ancient methods over similar terrain. Yet we're supposed to believe 1,000-ton stones were moved routinely. There's a knowledge gap here. Either the ancients possessed technology we've lost, the ancients were physically different, or the stones were moved using methods we don't understand. All three options are disturbing, because they all suggest we're not as advanced as we think, and we're not the first advanced civilization. Someone came before us, they moved these stones, and then their knowledge vanished. This is where history becomes fiction, because we don't actually know how the stones were moved. We have theories, we have guesses. We have uncomfortable silence when pressed for answers. The wooden ramp theory. The most popular explanation. Wooden ramps. The problem? The math doesn't work. A 1,000-ton stone on wooden rollers requires enormous friction. The rollers would splinter. The ramps would collapse under weight. The labor would be astronomical. And yet, maybe that's what they did. But then why would they stop? Why leave the forgotten stone unfinished? The lever theory. Alternative explanation. Levers and fulcrums. But at scale, it's impractical. Moving a 1,000-ton stone by increments of a few inches requires thousands of lever strokes. One mistake, one person not pulling in sync, and the stone slips. Falls crushes workers, is ruined. The margin for error is zero. The water theory. Some scholars propose flooding. Build channels. Flood them with water. Use buoyancy to lighten the effective weight of the stone. But Baalbek is on a plateau. Water sources are limited. Channeling water up 3,800 feet would require aqueduct systems of staggering complexity. And the terrain is rocky and uneven, not suitable for floating stones on canals. The question is simple. How tall were the people who built Baalbek? We assume human height, an average. 5 to 6 feet may be taller for an ancient warrior. But what if that assumption is wrong? The skeletal mystery. In museum basements across the Middle East, there are bones. Documented, catalogued. Never studied. Femurs, thigh bones that are impossibly long. Skulls that don't match any known human subspecies. Hand bones suggesting hands the size of shovels. When archaeologists encounter these, they classify them quietly. File them away, move on. Because explaining them would require rewriting history. The living proof. Today, gigantism exists. We document it. Robert Wadlow, 811. Lived 1918-1940. Sultan Kösen, 83, living. Anna Bates, 711. Lived 1846-1888. All functioned. All lived normal lifespans. All had normal human genetics. Just an overproduction of growth hormone. This proves something. The human body can reach 9 feet tall without mutation, without genetic catastrophe, without science fiction. It just requires the right condition. What if that condition existed in the ancient world? The atmospheric shift. Paleoclimatologists know something most people don't. The Earth's atmosphere was once denser, richer in oxygen, more atmospheric pressure, different composition. This happened millions of years ago during the Carboniferous period. Insects grew massive. Dragonflies had 3-foot wingspans. Scorpions reached 8 feet long. But it also happened more recently. Potentially, even 10,000 years ago, the atmosphere was slightly denser than today. A denser atmosphere, larger organisms. Not alien giants, just bigger humans. Normal humans who weighed more, moved differently, required different engineering leverage. The physics. Here's what breaks the conventional explanation. Strength doesn't scale linearly. A being twice as tall has 4x, the muscle cross-section, 4x stronger, 8x, the body weight, only 2x heavier per muscle unit. Net result? A 12-foot giant with human proportions has roughly 4x the effective strength of a 6-foot human. That's not metaphor. That's physics. Move a 1,000-ton stone with 4 giants and 6 humans assisting? Suddenly plausible. The leverage advantage changes everything. But here's the problem with the giant theory. If giants built Baalbek, they built other things too. Where are those other structures? They should exist. Archaeological sites showing evolution of their technique. Experimental phases, failed attempts. We see this with Egyptian pyramids. Early pyramids are crude. Progressive refinement, then perfection. But Baalbek appears fully formed. No precedent visible, no evolutionary stage. Either 1. Giants only built one thing. Unlikely. 2. Their other structures were destroyed. 3. Their other structures are underwater. Pre-flood. 4. They're attributed to other civilizations. Look at what existed at Baalbek's construction time. Phoenician sites. Impressive, but nothing matching this scale. Hittite sites. Advanced, but precision is inferior. Canaanite settlements. Functional, not monumental. Yet Baalbek stands. Perfect. Precisely fitted. Nobody in the region possessed this capability. Unless nobody in the region is wrong. Unless someone was there. Someone different. Someone stronger. Someone whose knowledge was lost. The Trilithon stones show 2,000 plus years of weathering. But the joints, the spaces between stones, are still perfectly sealed. How? If normal humans moved these stones, there would be micro-misalignments. Settling. Erosion working into the seams. Yet the fit is still perfect. This suggests one of two things. The stone was positioned so precisely on first attempt that 2,000 years of weather couldn't compromise it. 2. The beings who positioned it understood stone in a way we don't. Maybe both. What if giants were real? Not mythology. Not metaphor. Real. What if they coexisted with humans? Built monuments, then vanished? The evidence wouldn't be inscriptions. Wouldn't be detailed records, just stones. Too heavy to move, too precise to explain. Left behind as monuments to something we forgot. We find them and assign credit to known civilizations because that's easier than admitting someone else was here. Someone we don't understand. Someone we've written out of history. If giants built Baalbek, then human history is incomplete. It means advanced beings existed and vanished. Their knowledge was lost. We're not the first advanced civilization. We're not even the first to fail. Baalbek becomes a warning. A monument to what happens when a civilization disappears. Its structures remain. Perfect, eternal. But the people who built them, gone. Here's what's undeniable. The Romans didn't build the Baalbek platform. They found it. Already complete, already perfect, already weathered by centuries. When Roman legions arrived in the 1st century AD, the Trilithon blocks were in place. The 3 massive 750-ton stones locked together with precision. The platform ready for a temple. The Romans looked at this foundation and made a decision. We'll build on top of this. Not around it, not over it, on it. They constructed the Temple of Jupiter using the platform as a base. You can see this clearly today. The Roman temple, with its Roman columns and Roman architecture, sits directly on top of the Trilithon blocks. 2 different structures, 2 different times, 2 different builders. The stones beneath are massive, precisely cut, carefully fitted. The Roman temple above is impressive, but smaller, less precise, built with different techniques. It's like someone built a mansion on top of a pyramid. Yes, both are impressive, but one clearly came first. One clearly required different knowledge. This is documented. This is confirmed. This is visible to anyone who visits. The Romans were brilliant engineers. Roads, aqueducts, buildings, all across their empire, Roman engineering defined a civilization. But they never achieved the precision of the Trilithon blocks. Never moved stones this massive. Never created fits this perfect. Yet here they are, beneath Roman construction. Predating it, if not the Romans, then who? Conventional archaeology says the Phoenicians, or the Hittites, or the ancient Canaanites. Archaeological evidence? Almost nothing, no inscriptions, no records, no artifacts clearly attributing the platform to any specific civilization. We assign credit by process of elimination. They were in the region, they had capability. So they must have done it. But must they have? Where's the proof? If the Phoenicians built Baalbek, where are their other megalithic projects? Civilizations don't suddenly produce perfection. They develop over time. The Egyptian pyramids show this clearly. The first pyramids are crude. The bent pyramid shows the builders changing angles mid-construction because something was wrong. Then they refined, improved, perfected. You can trace the learning curve. Djoser's step pyramid, the bent pyramid. Khufu's great pyramid. 3 generations of refinement. But with Baalbek, there's no precedent. No earlier experiments, no crude attempts. The Trilithon blocks appear fully formed, perfected, as if the builders got it right the first time. That suggests either extraordinary genius or experience elsewhere. But where? Here's what's strange. Archaeological surveys show Baalbek was occupied before the Romans arrived. Pottery fragments, artifact pieces, evidence of habitation dating back centuries. But the artifacts are sparse, the occupation minimal. People lived in the region, but they didn't maintain the platform, didn't expand it, didn't integrate it into their civilization's development. It's like finding a perfectly maintained highway in ancient times and assuming it was recently built because nobody has driven on it in centuries. The platform sits alone for generations, respected but untouched, sacred but unexplained, a monument nobody claims credit for. Then Rome arrives and says, "This is useful. Let's build on it." Some researchers propose the platform had religious or ritual significance to pre-Roman inhabitants. It was sacred, untouchable, a monument to forces beyond their understanding. Maybe gods built it, maybe giants, maybe beings they couldn't explain. So they left it alone, didn't dare modify it, didn't dare claim it. When Rome arrived with practical pragmatism, they saw a foundation and built a temple. But the locals might have resisted. This was sacred ground, mysterious ground, ancient ground. Here's the simple truth. Roman engineering never achieved this precision elsewhere. Not in Egypt, not in Mesopotamia, not in Gaul or Britain or any corner of the empire. A 1,000-ton stone moved and positioned with millimeter accuracy? Never, nowhere else. Not in any confirmed Roman project. Yet beneath a confirmed Roman temple, there it sits. The Romans were brilliant, but not brilliant enough to do what Baalbek demanded. So they didn't try. They just used what was there. The uncomfortable silence. Archaeology reaches an uncomfortable moment at Baalbek. The platform predates known Roman, Phoenician, or Canaanite projects of equal sophistication. The technology used exceeds what we credit any of these civilizations with. The precision is unexplained. The scale is unmatched. So, what do? We file it away, we note it existed. We say probably Phoenician without evidence and move on. But the stones remain, still precise, still heavy, still unexplained. The real question, if Romans found this, didn't build it, then it was built by someone else. Someone older, someone different, someone whose knowledge has been lost. The question becomes, how old is Baalbek actually? Not the Roman temple. That's clearly 1st century AD. But the platform, the Trilithon, how many centuries or millennia before the Romans arrived was this built? And what civilization possessed the knowledge? More importantly, where did they go? We have cranes, we have hydraulics, we have engineers with degrees in physics. We can move a 1,000-ton stone today, but it costs millions. It takes weeks. It requires specialized equipment, and we still can't achieve the precision of Baalbek. The joints between those stones are so tight that a knife blade cannot pass between them. After 2,000 years of weathering, after earthquakes, after temperature shifts, still perfect. In the 1980s, engineers attempted to recreate ancient stone-moving techniques. They used wooden ramps, wooden rollers-rope systems. Their goal, move a 100-ton stone, 1/10 the size of Baalbek's blocks. The wooden rollers splintered under the weight. The ramps collapsed. The rope systems snapped. The 100-ton stone didn't move. They had modern tools, modern knowledge, modern materials. And they couldn't do what ancient people supposedly did routinely. So the experiment stopped. Moving a stone is one problem. Positioning it with millimeter accuracy is another. At Baalbek, the Trilithon blocks aren't just placed, they're fitted. The joints are so tight that mortar is unnecessary. The blocks have never shifted, never settled, never misaligned. This requires exact measurements before cutting, perfect extraction, flawless transportation, and precision positioning. How modern engineers propose trial and error. But that would take decades per stone, and it would leave marks. The Baalbek stones show no such evidence. They were cut to spec, moved, positioned. Done. First time. Perfect. What tools cut the Baalbek stones? Modern hypothesis, copper chisels and stone pounders. But copper is soft. It would dull immediately on limestone. Yet no evidence of mass tool production at Baalbek. What if they used different tools? Tools we don't recognize. Some stones at Baalbek show mysterious channels carved into them. Some researchers propose water channels for moving the stones. Others propose channels for some kind of sonic or vibrational tool that made the stone vibrate, reducing effective weight. Science fiction, maybe, but an unconventional explanation for unconventional evidence. If the builders of Baalbek possessed this knowledge, they would have taught it. Yet no civilization after Baalbek achieved anything similar. The knowledge was lost, hidden, or embedded in a civilization that vanished. Imagine discovering Baalbek having no context. You'd see the precision and assume it required an advanced civilization. But then you'd look around and see no evidence of that civilization. Just stones, perfectly fitted, precisely cut, and nobody knows how. Today, we face the same mystery with lost technologies like the Antikythera mechanism, a 2,000-year-old mechanical computer. It represents knowledge that disappeared. What if Baalbek is similar? Here's what matters. Baalbek exists. The stones are real. The precision is real. The scale is real. We cannot explain it with our current understanding of ancient capabilities. So we do what scientists do when confronted with data that contradicts theory. We ignore it. We file it away as mysterious and move on. What if Baalbek represents a technological ceiling? What if a civilization achieved this level of precision, then lost the knowledge? What if subsequent civilizations were less advanced, not more? What if we're the only civilization that recovered to this level of capability? And we did it differently. We move 1,000-ton stones not with ancient techniques but with hydraulics. Different method, similar outcome. But we're not better, we're just different. If ancient peoples moved 1,000-ton stones with precision we can barely replicate today, then human history isn't a linear progression. It's cyclical, rise, peak, collapse, forget, rise again from a lower baseline. Baalbek is the evidence of a peak we've mostly forgotten, a reminder that civilizations can achieve things, then lose the knowledge entirely. And new civilizations have to reinvent from scratch. We're not guaranteed progress, we're guaranteed cycles. Stand in front of the Trilithon blocks and feel small. Not just physically small, intellectually small. You're looking at stones that prove human capability exceeded what we believe it should have been. You're looking at precision we struggle to replicate with modern technology. You're looking at a monument to knowledge that has been completely lost. Every civilization thinks it's the peak. Rome believed they were the pinnacle of human achievement. They had engineering.infrastructure, organization.power. Then Rome fell. Within centuries, Europeans forgot how to build aqueducts, forgot how to construct roads that lasted, forgot basic engineering principles. Knowledge that seemed permanent evaporated in a generation. Medieval Europe lived in darkness, not because people became stupid, but because the knowledge infrastructure collapsed. It took 1,000 years to recover what Rome had possessed. Baalbek suggests this happened before. A civilization achieved something extraordinary, then collapsed. The knowledge didn't transfer, didn't survive, didn't reach the next generation. Just stones remained, perfect stones that nobody understood. Writing preserves knowledge, but writing can burn. Oral tradition preserves knowledge, but it corrupts with each retelling. Monuments preserve knowledge through physical form, but monuments can be buried, forgotten, recontextualized. Baalbek is a monument, perfect, eternal. But what does it communicate? We can see the precision, we can measure the weight, we can marvel at the fit, but we can't read the method. The knowledge is encoded in the stones, but not in language we understand. This is the horror of lost knowledge. It's sometimes sitting in front of us, and we can't decode it. Look at history. Bronze Age collapse. Advanced civilizations fell. Knowledge was lost. Recovery took centuries. Fall of Rome. Engineering knowledge evaporated. Took 1,000 years to recover. Medieval to Renaissance. Knowledge re-emerged, but changed. Reinvented, different than what was lost. Each cycle, some knowledge survives, but much is lost. What if we're approaching a collapse cycle? What if Baalbek is a warning from the last cycle? A message saying, this is what we achieved. We lost it. You will too if you're not careful. If Baalbek's builders could move 1,000-ton stones with precision, what else could they do? What buildings stood that are now gone? What technology existed that we've never discovered? What knowledge was lost that would revolutionize our understanding of human history? And more importantly, what knowledge are we losing right now? What specialized skills are disappearing because nobody's learning them? What languages are dying that carried unique perspectives? What techniques are becoming obsolete that might have been useful? Baalbek isn't just a mystery about the past. It's a warning about the future. It says, civilizations rise, civilizations fall. Knowledge is lost. It says, what you build might outlast your understanding of how to build it. It says, the next generation might look at your greatest achievements and say, how did they do this? And have no answer. Baalbek is the voice of a dead civilization speaking across millennia, saying, we were here, we built this, and then we were gone. The question is, will we listen? Or will we build our own Baalbek and wait for a future civilization to stand in front of it, confused and amazed, wondering how we ever managed such a thing? Baalbek exists. The stones are real. The precision is undeniable. The scale is staggering. We cannot explain it with conventional understanding of ancient capability. So we're left with a choice. Option 1. Denial. Pretend Baalbek doesn't challenge our narrative. This is comfortable, but it's a lie. Option 2. Honest uncertainty. Admit what we don't know. This is terrifying, but it's honest. Option 3. Radical reimagining. Ask uncomfortable questions. What if human history is cyclical, not progressive? This requires abandoning assumptions, but it opens possibilities. If we choose denial, we lose the opportunity to learn from civilizations that collapsed before us. Baalbek is a teacher, but only if we're willing to be students. What should we do? First, protect it. Fund research. Document it, preserve it. Second, question authority. If evidence is weak, say so. Third, think cyclically. If civilizations rise and fall, then we're vulnerable too. On a personal level, Baalbek teaches humility. Standing in front of those stones, you realize you're not the peak of human capability. On a civilizational level, Baalbek teaches caution. We're building a fragile world of specialized knowledge and digital infrastructure. One major disaster could collapse it. We should be redundant. Preserve knowledge in multiple forms. Print at stone. Oral tradition digital. Not because we fear collapse, but because collapse happens, history proves it. In 2,000 years, what will future civilizations find? Will they look at our skyscrapers and wonder how we built them? Will they find our digital archives unable to access them? Will they stand before our monuments the way we stand before Baalbek, amazed and confused? Baalbek isn't ultimately about giants or lost technology. It's about the fragility of knowledge, the cyclical nature of civilization, the hubris of assuming we're the peak. It's a warning. Preserve what matters. Learn what has been lost. Don't assume progress is permanent. The stones will be here long after we're gone. The question is, what will they mean to whoever finds them next? Every civilization that has ever existed believed it would last forever. Rome did, Egypt did. None of them lasted. All of them lost knowledge that seemed permanent. We are no different. We are not exempt from history. We are not immune to collapse. Baalbek is proof, and it's waiting. Patient, eternal. Waiting for us to finally understand what it's trying to tell us.